Welcome to the Super Data Admin Grid video introduction. The grid is a highly powerful yet simple to use data grid control that can be used on ASP.NET web pages. In this video, we will work through a simple case study in order to highlight some of the grid's features. So let's start by visiting the requirements for the case study. The case study is a simple university student registration. There are two main requirements. One to add, remove and edit university degree types, and the second to add, remove and edit student records. Student records must have the following mandatory fields, and additionally the system should allow the users to view all student data in a scrollable grid. The grid headers should be fixed for easy display, and the system should allow the users to sort the grid by any column or field. A few additional requirements after that are to select from a drop-down of degrees when assigning a degree to a student, to select the date of birth from a control or calendar control or set of drop-downs, to use a choice of yes, no when selecting if a student has paid the fees, and to provide a multi-line text box for inputting more than one subject per line, and have basic input validation. The system will run as a two-page website, the skeleton of which I have already pre-built. Let's run the website in order to view the structure of the site. Our requirements, the degrees placeholder page, and the students placeholder page. Let's start by examining the database. As you can see, we have two tables, a student table holding the fields set out in the requirements, and a degrees table to store the different types of degree. We will now switch back to Visual Studio and launch the PBC ID add-in tool, which is a stored procedure code generation tool. This is a very simple yet powerful tool that allows us to type in the name of a table and generate a stored procedure for it. Going back to SQL Server and refreshing our view, we can see that two stored procedures have been created. The stored procedures are simply called process underscore and the name of the table, in this case degrees, and process underscore students. This is the process underscore students stored procedure with modes for insert, update, delete, remove, and a couple of selection modes. Switching back to our website, we will start with the degrees page, to which we will add our Super Data Admin Grid control. We do this by going to our Macro Explorer, looking at the PBC macros, and incorporating the ASPX register tag. This registers the control in the ASPX page, and then we have to embed the control by going back to the macro and including the ASPX Super Data Admin Grid tag. That embeds the actual grid into the page. Okay, let's examine the code behind for the degrees page. On page load, if not post back, in our macros, we are going to put in our grid field definitions. This simply defines the grid columns. The field we are going to be looking at is the degree field, and the column name, we are going to call it degree name. True refers to editable, and 50 is the maximum length of the field. Right, next we are going to add in the mandatory database connection fields. This is a database connection which I have set up in the default page as a session string object, which I'll refer back to over here. So it's just going to be session dbcon.toString. The primary key of the table is degree ID. The name of the table will be degrees. And finally, we need to make a call to the bind. Again, in the macros, we'll go to the code behind bind function and the name of the stored procedure. This refers to the name of the stored procedure, which is process underscore table name. In this case, the table name is process underscore degrees, and uses one of the standard selection modes, mode 51. Right, let's compile the site. Build succeeded. Let's view our page thus far. As you can see, we have a Super Data Admin Grid control. We can easily update one of the records. Equally, we could easily delete a record with a prompt confirmation. Yes, let's delete that record. Or we could add a new record into the grid. Okay, now we're going to add the SuperDataAdmin grid control to our students page. Let's stop the site from running and head straight into the students ASPX page, where we will register the control using the ASPX register macro and embed the control using the ASPX SuperDataAdmin grid tag. Then we'll go into the code behind and register the rest of the macros. For simplicity, I will simply cut all of the code that we've already used in the degrees page, put that into the students page, and replace the word degree with students. Student. Okay, this means we've set up all of the database connection strings correctly and the process student stored procedures being called correctly. All we have to do is set up the list of fields or column names. So we have student first name and student last name. Date of birth. Which is a field type of date. Year of registration. Which will be a field type integer. And we're going to say it's a required field and that the maximum length is 4. The next field we're going to add are the subjects. Which is going to be a field type multi-line. Multi-line field type. And the next column is going to be the fees paid column. Which will be a type Boolean. And the final field column we're going to use is the degree type, which is going to be a drop-down field. We call up the code for a drop-down field from the macros. The field is always going to be a degree. So we're going to be looking at degree ID, hidden underscore degree ID. Our field is called degree. The column name will be called degree. The primary integer key will be degree ID. The field name will be degree. This creates and binds a data source from our process underscore degrees stored procedure. Run the website. Go to the students page. There's our grid. Scrollable with fixed headers. Sortable on the columns. Editable with dynamic drop downs and date components, multi-line text box, save that. Finally, let's change the theme to change the look and feel of the control. So we're going to use theme 2, which is another standard theme the grid ships with, and we have a completely different looking grid with similar brilliant functionality. This will save your developers hours and hours of development time. Thank you for watching this introduction.